Oh, bloody hell, what happened? Previous download was interrupted when you last quit Logic Pro.
Oh no. Logic Pro just quit itself.
Oh. No idea what happened. Hello and welcome to Shenanigans with me, your host, Matt Keano. And with us this week is none other than Sheldon the rapper. Woo! Yeah, I always
Matt Keano, sponsored by Matt Keano.
Yeah, sponsored by Matt Keano. You can stream stuff everywhere, Apple Music, Spotify. You can also stream Sheldon the rapper stuff everywhere as well.
You can.
Yeah, because one of the things you can stream soon is your album.
It is.
That's what you want to talk about today.
It is. Well, one of the things to talk about.
Yes.
One of the things.
Yeah.
Just enjoy having conversations with people who musically minded or just have sort of ideas and will chat. So
yeah, that's cool. One of the things that I sort of surprised me in a way is, I suppose, because a lot of like local musicians and stuff, they, at least in this area anyway, there's a lot of metal bands I found. Now, what I find interesting is you chose rap. That fascinates me.
So I didn't choose rap so much. Okay. So I am from West Wales originally.
Yeah.
I'm from a place called Llyndailo.
Okay.
And when I was 6, I moved to London.
Yes. Yeah.
And I grew up in London. So that's where I chose rap, or should I say rap sort of chose me. I play the drums. I play 8 instruments. Badly. I play the drums very well.
Yeah.
That's my instruments. I was in a punk band.
Sick.
I'll give you a brief history of how I got into rap here. There is a bit more of a backstory, but really how it kind of happened was we did a punk pop cover of 21 Seconds.
Okay.
Which is a old garage track. I don't know if you know it, but it's like you probably know the hook. It's like I got 21 seconds to go. I got 21 seconds to go.
Yeah.
We did a punk version of that.
Okay.
Also a punk version of that.
Yeah.
And I was rapping on it, and we recorded it as part of an EP. I was working in Oxford at the time, in a co-op, because I was dating a girl who was going to Oxford Brookes University, and I had this CD, just made it, and there was a guy who was working there who I knew made a bit of music, and I said, our band's got a new CD, do you want to listen to it? So he went out the back, he listened to it, and he got to 21 Seconds, which is the 4th song on there. And then I was rapping, and he came in and he just went, who's rapping? And I went, oh, me and the guitarist. And he said, you can really rap? And I went, no. Because I just didn't think that I could. I thought I could, in the original recording of that CD, I put on what I would call typical garage, yes, one time, this is me on the mic, yes. I'm doing that voice, I'm doing that kind of I'm the hype man.
Yeah.
Listen to the DJ as he spins.
The guy outside the roller coaster is being
one more time. So, and I was like, no, not really. And he was like, yeah, you can. And I thought he meant I've got the voice for it.
Right.
And I was like, it's not my voice. So in my head, I was like, it's not my voice. But he didn't. On the cover we did, me and the guitarist did our own verses. We did a cover of one verse each, and we did our own verse as well. Mm-hmm. And it was the writing and the way I flowed that he liked. So then he was like, you can actually rap. And I was like, oh. And then he said, come over. And he said, I'll play you some stuff and you can see if you can rap. I went over to his house and he played me a track which sampled Sexual Healing by Marvin Gaye. Mm-hmm. And I wrote a rap song while I was there about masturbation.
Right. And he was sold.
I remember it was palms getting hairy, old wives' tale, me going blind, that's an old wives' tale, in fact, this 10 good 20 minutes, I think I should really set my limits, I think I go out and try my luck, see if there's anyone I can get to. So it was basically that. And I'd written it, and it was about masturbation, and he was like, why did you come to that conclusion? With that, and I'm like, because I was a nerdy kid. I'm women were not all over me. So for me, Sexual Healing was masturbation. So it was just that. It was just a case of like I wrote something very honest.
Yeah.
Not like rude, but not like not rude in a way that was like kind of derogatory, or in a way that was like crass for no reason. It was rude in a humorous way.
Right.
And that's kind of where that journey started. But the first time I ever rapped was I had DJ decks when I was 14. I DJ still. I had vinyl. My friends would come over. We'd all sit. They'd sit. I had the big double bedroom in my house. My dad did. He just said that you have the double bedroom. I had my DJ deck set up. All my friends were sat on my bed with a microphone, and I was playing drum and bass, and they were all just rapping. And then they thought it'd be really funny with me. I had a really squeaky voice when I was 14, and I was really like compared to them, like incredibly Welsh.
Right.
So and they were like, "Oh, rap," and they thought it'd be hilarious. The only thing I knew the words for was baggy trousers by Matt.
Oh yeah.
So I just took the microphone and I went like, "Naughty boys in our school said about and breaking with the rule, having a fun breaking rules, smashing up on the woodwork tools." And then it was like they went, that was alright, begrudgingly giving some props. So that became kind of like the way that I just loved just the ability to write stories and tell things in that way. So I got into rap not in Wales. So when you say like, obviously you're right, in Wales, metal is massive.
Yes.
Now, don't get me wrong, rap is really on the rise. There's a lot of it coming up in Wales.
Yeah. There's quite a bit in Newport and stuff.
There's a bit of scene in Merthyr now as well.
Yeah.
There is stuff happening all over Cardiff. It's big in Cardiff. It's always been big in Cardiff. But what I'll say is, I think we're only just starting to come out with the idea that we need to sound or follow what other cities are sounding like. So, the struggle of a Welsh rapper is not the same as a struggle as a rapper who lives in London. It's not the same struggle. It's so pretending it is. I'm pretending that I've got my gun and I've got my clat and I've got my switch and my blade.
Yeah, it's inauthentic.
It's not going to work.
Yeah.
And I think it's taken. Don't get me wrong. There's always been authentic rappers in Wales.
Yes.
But not in prominence.
Yeah.
I think there's an uptick now of people realising that that isn't my struggle.
Yeah,
so
it's one of my favourite things because I love rap music, but I'm a big sort of I love like 90s era rap music, like anything Wu-Tang, NWA, Ice Cube solo stuff. I just love the way it sounds, and there's one thing that I've always appreciated with rap music a lot more so than other genres is the authenticity of it. Like, I find rap music to be incredibly personal. It is a really, really... I feel like with rap songs, you can write in a way you can't so much with other types of music.
I think that's true to an extent, but I think it depends on... Again, I think you're right in secular, in like what's popular. That's definitely true.
Yeah.
So, like, rap-wise, it's much easier to find authenticity in rap than it is to, say, find authenticity in maybe pop punk.
Yeah.
But then if you listen to punk, like what I would say was more the originator of it.
Yeah.
Like, that's very much like talking about sort of, but it's more embedded. It's not in your... Like, a rap song will have, like quadruple, 10 times the amount of words, so that there's more breathing room to be able to say what you want to say.
Yeah.
The only other music that I think comes even close to rap is folk music. If you think about folk music, which is telling tales, telling stories, explaining, like, even like if you go back to Woody Guthrie or Lead Belly, and you've got like This Land Is Your Land, This Land Is My Land, which is about kind of America not being... It's a communism song, it's a song about socialism, it's a song about... But under the guise of being a very patriotic song. So I think in rap it's very easy to kind of be like, this is my message, look, here's my message. But I think in other musics, because you've got to say a lot in a lot less words, you maybe don't always get...
Yeah, I get you.
Pink Floyd's a good example of that.
Yeah.
To say The Wall, for instance, is an idea of a life, and how we're all just in a cage, in a box, a brick in a wall. We're all just moving through life and we all have the same traps, but we think that we're free and we're not, and we try to be protected, but we're not. And actually, all of the stuff that's said in The Wall could probably be said in one rap song. Without maybe a couple of rap songs, but The Wall does it as a whole kind of operatic thing, whereas rap music is like, you can say a lot more if you want to.
Yeah, I get you. So, with, I suppose, your rap music taste, were there any sort of like rappers you looked to for like, I guess inspiration, but like, it's, I guess, difficult to find your voice in any kind of music stuff you do. Were there any, like, not even rappers, but artists in general, like, this is sort of like the direction where I'd want to go with it?
So I would say that my stuff can be quite political.
Okay.
Not all. This album coming out is probably, there's a few political songs on there.
Yeah.
I would say this is the least political album as a whole body of work. But the way that I would describe, so it does go back to people like I grew up on 50s rock and roll.
Yeah.
Because my dad was really into it.
Yeah.
We didn't have a TV until I was 10.
Yeah.
So, and when we listened to the radio, we listened to Capital FM, Capital Gold, which was at the time 50s, 60s music.
Yeah.
And that's all they played. So, and this is the honest truth. I was about 10 when I realised there were other genres.
yeah.
I didn't know other genres existed. I was like, whoa!
Yeah.
I think, like, I remember, like, and then my dad was like, I remember saying, like, what's this song? My dad was like, well, this is Madness. You like Madness? Yeah. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And then, like, and the funny thing is, he owned loads of records. There were punk records and, like, he loved T-Rex and, he liked Pink Floyd and he liked 60s. He liked that, but 50s was what seemed to be, like, the only thing that we ever listened to. So when I suddenly, I discovered that there was other music genres, my mind just sort of exploded. So, there's a guy called, I love Eddie Cochran, 50s rock and roll guy, and even his, like you were saying about telling stories, or we were talking about telling stories, he's got a song called Cut Across Shorty, and it's about two guys running a race to try and win the hand of this girl, and the chorus is, cut across Shorty, Shorty, cut across, that's what Miss Lucy said, cut across Shorty, Shorty, cut across, it's you I want to wed, and there's a bit at the end of it, and just like that old story about the turtle and the hare, when Dan crossed over the finish line, he found Shorty waiting there. And it's this little thing of like, the woman wanted to marry this other one, but needed to... It's just a brilliant little story.
Yeah.
And then Bob Dylan. So Bob Dylan was like, Bob Dylan for me, The Clash, Bob Dylan, The Clash, this is very really tricky. There's so much music that I've kind of absorbed through the years that and there'll be music that I'll forget. The Selector, The Specials, Madness, Big Scarface, and then I quite like some dance music in the 90s. Much more into it now than I was back then. In fact, I really love living in London. Coming up in London, jungle and drum and bass was like prevalent, especially where I was, South London, especially where I was near Brixton, in that kind of area, massive, and it was everywhere. So, hearing kind of all these different sorts of sounds, these unusual goings on with music, it was a big deal. But I think one of the biggest things for me was the streets. Okay. So Mike Skinner, The Streets, that's probably the turning point for me as a rapper in my own mind. I was like, oh, I don't need to sound like an American, or I don't need to sound this way. And then listening to him, there's a guy from the 80s who was from a place called Penge, and he was called Smiley Culture. Okay. And he's got a song called Police Officer and Cockney Translator, and he literally translates Cockney into normal English and stuff. Absolutely amazing, and police officers were getting pulled over by a police officer and trying to and I would say that was like a reggae rap track, and the reggae dub with him rapping on it is very kind of similar to what I would say eventually became the UK sound. Right. But it didn't become that for another 15 years. Yeah. He was really, really ahead of his time and isn't talked about at all, and it's wild to me that he's not talked about because he's so important to the UK scene. But then and then it was Roots Maneuver, and then it was a guy called Taz, who was a UK artist, amazing, and then it was, Dizzy Rascal was a big deal, although he wasn't somebody that I really connected with, although I really like him, he wasn't someone I really connected with.
Yeah.
This is such a cliche because I'm a white guy, but Eminem, I remember buying Eminem's, I remember buying the Marshall Mathers LP when I was like 14, 15, and just being like, what is happening?
Yeah.
I just remember thinking like, what is happening? Because I just remember it being like, I don't understand. I listened to punk music that was angry, and I listened to but this was like a different kind of anger.
Yeah.
It was anger that I was like, oh. You're just saying anything, you get from and then Kim at the end of that album, it's like insane. It's an insane song.
Yeah.
Somebody released that on an album that was at number 1 for a long time. That's mental. There's a song about murdering his child's mother, and it was massive.
Yeah.
It's insane.
There's an amazing story I read before of when they him and Dre went to show the other record people the album, they all sat down and they all had their suits on, and Kim came on and Em was just dead quiet, arms crossed, just staring, and they're what the fuck is this?
But you can imagine though, because
100%.
Don't get me wrong, murdercore or rap, there'd been murderous raps, horrorcore, there'd been horror rap before. But this was coming, he was saying stuff that was just it was oh, you're saying this about your mum and your who's a real person, and you're saying this about your wife, not wife, whatever, because they got together and split up a few times. So I remember 2001 Dre, that was a big influence on me.
I love that.
It's incredible.
I
love there's a guy called Immortal Technique.
Okay.
Dark as anything, really dark, great storyteller. My favourite rap song of all time is actually my favourite rap verse. There's a verse on a song called Uncommon Valor, and it's by there's Jedi Mind Tricks is the group, but it's R.A. the Rugged Man, and it's a true story. It's about going to Vietnam, but it's about his dad.
Okay.
And it's possibly one of the best lyrical verses I've ever heard in my life. Just as one piece of information. He goes to the story of his dad and how his dad went and how he loved being what he felt like a god and killing people, and then he got injured. And then he got affected by Agent Orange. And then basically his children were born with handicaps because of that, and some of them died because of that, and it goes through that whole story, and it's just unreal. So this is so when you say what influences me, it's also so it's in the Clash, the Buzzcocks. I love the Buzzcocks. I love Real Big Fish. I love Less Than Jake. I love Green Day. I love. I love Rancid, and then the Transplants. So just anything where I love music that feels like it. If you think about all the bands I've just mentioned, I love bands that feel like they're trying to tell you something.
Right.
And whether you hear it or not is entirely up to you.
Yeah.
It's entirely up to you whether you can just enjoy the song. If you want to
listen,
it goes deeper.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah. It's I know you said it's the stereotypical white guy thing to love Eminem, but it's honestly, it's so, especially looking back now, it's so easy to forget how crazy those first 3 albums are. Slim Shady LP to Marshall Mathers LP to Eminem Show is an insane run of 3 albums.
It's crazy.
And I feel like a lot of people just look at his most recent releases and they're he's always been ass or whatever. But it's man, those 3 albums, untouchable.
Do you know what it is for me though? This is what I always say about Eminem. He was at that time, he was the biggest he was ever going to be as an artist.
Yes.
But I will say now, technically, and this is because I think that actually in the run of the way the public look at it, they're not going to be interested in this. But technically, he's probably the best he's ever been now. The way that he writes and takes apart words, he's probably the best at rapping he's ever been now.
Yeah.
And as a rapper, I look at it and I'm like, that's incredibly impressive. but also I can understand why people don't necessarily look at him and think he's still on top.
Yeah.
But he's one of the only rappers who's still just rapping. He's not, like, he does production and stuff, but he's not doing other things. Like, 50 Cent, big TV deals, and also trolling everyone on the internet. He doesn't stop trolling people.
No, my favourite.
It's actually savage.
I love that whole feud he had with Floyd Mayweather about like getting him to like read like the first page of Harry Potter. I loved all of that stuff.
But it's crazy. But he's got his TV and film production company.
Yeah.
And Dre has got beats and like all these other things. I mean, he's sold them on, but he's got all these other things that he's created. Snoop Dogg is everything. He's just doing everything. Like, the
guy showed up at the Game Awards.
Snoop Dogg doesn't do one thing. So for me, when I look at him, like and when you hear other rappers talk about him, he told Eminem treats it like a job, but like he could just retire. He doesn't need to keep doing it. Yeah. He doesn't do it for money. If anyone thinks he does it for money, is insane. Yeah. He doesn't need any money. Yeah. He's fine. Yeah. Like, so he's doing it because he just wants to see what he can do. Yeah. And I think that's the thing I still respect about him. Like, like people want to, like, fine, don't listen to him. You don't have to listen. Like, with any artist. Yeah. The term guilty pleasures, I always think to myself, doesn't exist. There's music you can, like, subjectively think is bad, but there's no such thing as a guilty pleasure. There's stuff you can feel ashamed of liking. That's but why? Yeah. You like what you like. Like there's stuff that I like that I'm like, good grief, like I like this song, and I know that as a musician and a rapper, I think probably shouldn't. I'm like, that doesn't matter. Like, just like what you like, and dislike what you dislike. But do you know what? There's so much hate in the world, in every aspect, in every regard. Why direct an artist that, like, it doesn't matter? It really doesn't. Like,
No, that's why one of the things I felt with Eminem's last release, like the death of Century.
The coup de grace.
Yeah. And I thought it was a fun album. Yeah. But like I could see why people would like. People were like picking it apart like crazy, and I'm like, it's a fun album. It's fine. Like
the funny thing is, I really liked it. I genuinely really liked it from that point of view, and I just genuinely thought it was really. I just thought it was really good. I thought it was one of the best things he's done in a while. But I mean, this is crazy. But like worldwide, like Eminem outsold Kendrick last year.
Yeah, that's wild.
He's not to like. And Drake did, but we're not gonna. No, but my whole thing is that I think a lot of the discourse you hear and a lot of things you hear, like you hear a lot of people say people don't listen to Eminem. Yeah. I think the thing is that I think America has moved on. Yeah. Worldwide, you got the hilarious thing is if you like he's like the biggest rapper that's ever been in South Africa. He's the biggest rapper that's ever like Europe-wise. 50 Cent would never have broken Europe. If Eminem hadn't been there, because
50 wouldn't be a thing really without Eminem.
No, but I mean especially over here. Like I mean, there's loads of rappers from America who I think are incredible rappers. Like I just said, alright, they're rugged man. Chances are you've never heard of him. Yeah. Like most hip hop heads would have heard of him. Yeah, sure. But chances are you won't have heard of him. Yeah. And the reason for that is because I try to delve into like as much other hip hop as I can and find like all the stuff that I think is special. But those people don't come across the pond or they don't make their way over unless they're featured on a song with someone that has broken here.
Yeah, but you'd think like with the advent of the internet now, do you think like that issue wouldn't be as big of a deal anymore? Because like I read a lot about like how it was in like the 70s and 80s and stuff, and it was a case of like, you listen to what's in like your area and like or what people are talking about, what they're playing. So like an American artist back then makes sense of why like no one's heard of them in some small town in London or Manchester or whatever. But like because the internet is what it is and you can just listen to anything in the world, I think it's a lot easier now to kind of like feel like, oh, I wonder what music's coming from here. But then it still happens to be like, you know, there's American musicians, there's Australian musicians. Australia right now coming up with musicians, it is insane. But you wouldn't know unless you went searching.
Yeah, unless you went searching for it. Yeah.
Wild. Because Amel and the Sniffers right now, insane.
There's some crazy stuff that's come out of Australia in the past as well that you don't even think about.
Oh, yeah. But it's just, I don't know, I find it fascinating. The idea of like living in a world where like musically is very closed off then, where like...
Well, I tell you what I think, to the point of like, well, you wouldn't think it would be like that now because of the internet. I actually think it's the opposite way around. I think now there's so much music, because when I was in that band I was telling you about when I was younger, we had to pay a studio. And I mean, people pay studios now, but actually, I can just be at home with a microphone.
Yeah.
And I can just make a beat on BandLab or GarageBand or whatever program. Fruit Loops for a while was like, then you know, lots of people get free versions of that. I mean, and like, you know, there's lots of very cheap musical things that are easy to use. So now, like, look, SoundCloud is like impossible to navigate.
Yes. Yeah. Once upon a time, that website was incredible.
Yeah, once upon a time, like, you could find gold on every new page, and now it's like, oh, there's 50 remixes of Not Like Us. Yeah. I don't understand what's happened. Like, I don't know. And it's that thing of, well, we're in a situation now where I think the market is so saturated that we're now in a position where it's really hard to get yourself heard and to be a voice that people want to listen to. Yeah. Because, well, I already have artists I like. So why am I going to go and like, oh, what's this? Like, you know, I mean, my name's Sheldon the rapper. First of all, people see that name and they don't think, bet he's good. Like, you know, I'm very aware that people are looking at my stuff and going like, Sheldon the rapper sounds serious. Like, you know, I know nobody's looking at that and going like, shit. Like, first of all, the rapper is like, you know, it doesn't sound like I'm taking myself too seriously. I sound like a puppet. And then secondly, my first name and real name is Sheldon. So it's not even like, it's not, so if somebody sees that, I don't even know. Some people might click on it thinking, oh, it's the Big Bang Theory Sheldon rapping. Like, that's the concern for me. But other than that, I don't really think that like somebody's going to see my name and be like, you know, hip hop, Sheldon the rapper. I don't know that anyone's necessarily going to click on it. And another thing is, I come from a very, I don't really talk about, and I was talking earlier about, you know, Wales not talking about the struggle that they have. Obviously I grew up in London, so I have lots of like, you know, memories of that. But in other albums, I've got a song called, for instance, Coal, which is Country of Abandoned Love, which is about Wales and about the industry closing and about how basically just got left on its own. Yeah. And how we still see and feel the struggles of that now. Like, you know, every town, including Abertillery in the 70s was one of the busiest, it was the second biggest town in Wales. Yeah. Like the busiest town, like bustling. Like, you know, there was the most going on there, which is crazy to think about. And I think when everything gets taken away and there's no foundations put in to try and build something new, you just see things collapse. And, you know, so venues all die out because nobody's going out anymore because money was tight and there's so many building blocks of things that are difficult. I've got a song, I lived in Cwmbran for a while, I've got a song called Valley of Crows, which Cwmbran is the Crow Valley, and it's just about kind of like, that town is a weird town. Yeah. I've got lots of friends in Cwmbran, I like people in Cwmbran, the town is weird, it feels weird, and even people in Cwmbran, like, every garden has a shopping trolley. Like, it's not even a joke. It's genuinely, you know, they all have it, and they have like because it was a new town built, all the villages around it just all kind of grew into the town. Yeah. And now it's like it's an unusual place. Newport, since the university got discarded, is a dead town. Yeah. There's still lots of fun things going on there. Yeah. But you don't have the students or the influx of students from other places now living there that are bringing a different kind of a different kind of energy and a different kind of like outlook on life. So you don't have like student nights. Student nights aren't the same there anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you know, I know you'd be too young to know this or remember this, but when I first moved back to Wales, which was like 2011, 2012, it was like Newport was, the university was still open.
Yeah.
It was still like a really cool place to actually go out. It isn't now. I mean, there's some really, the pub's cool, there's some really cool places there, there's some really cool like places to go out and stuff, but it isn't the same.
Yeah.
And when things aren't put in place to like make up for what you lose, you just keep losing. And I think sometimes I struggle with worldwide listeners because sometimes my songs are so centered, they're centered on one sort of area or my own experience.
Yeah.
So this album, for instance, Last Day of London, the reason I've written this is because I keep referring to London in my stuff.
Yeah.
And I've come to the realization that I can't do that anymore because I've not been there for such a long time. The London that I left is not the same anyway.
Yeah.
It's not there. Like there's been big changes. And this is me sort of like, this is actually my whole story going through London. Like from arriving to funny stories and things that happened to me when I was there, to basically leaving. And that's sort of why I wrote that, is so that I needed a way to basically just go like, right, I'm done with this subject now. So hence why the album is called Last Days of London, because I needed to move on.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't stop writing about London because I found it, because so much of my childhood and my life was there.
Yeah.
All of my viewpoints and the things I see and my experiences, come from there.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I've talked about it with like a few different people and stuff on about like, you know, in terms of trying to make it as a musician now, it's hard. But like, I don't think your artist name, anyone's artist name, I don't think matters anymore.
No, I think matters.
I really like, cause like I've seen some. There was one artist I saw like yesterday or the day before, and like their artist name had like a bunch of like symbols in it and stuff, and like different like keyboard O's with like rhymes through it, and I'm like, there's no way anyone would find this name organically in the wild. Like it's just impossible. There's just no way you type it and find that person.
Yeah.
A lot of it now is just personality.
It's also coming across reels or TikToks or things where you come across stuff and then you're like, oh, that's interesting, and then maybe you follow the page maybe. And then there might be a link there to something else. Yeah. It's
all personality based, baby. If you've got something that people if you've got something people can attach themselves to and they're like, oh, like him or like them or whatever, then it's either you do it like that or you get incredibly fucking lucky and one of your songs will like take off on TikTok if there's a catchy snippet or something that people really like.
I don't really like that. Isn't my like that. I write for me. Like that's I write for me. Like, you know, and like I'll think I'm like, oh, I love this, and then like I'll play to someone, they're like, who is this for? And I'm like,
me. Well, that's the best way to be, man, because then you're not trying to impress anyone. It's just you do it for yourself. It's like one of my favorite. No, he is my favorite, not one of. My favorite movie director ever, David Lynch. Actually, he never did it. I know he says he doesn't like Dune, but still, Dune I wouldn't say wasn't for a mass audience. Every single movie he made was because he wanted to make that movie the way it looks, the way it's shot, everything about it was him. He never did it for anyone else. And I think art's far more interesting that way.
Oh, yeah, of course it is.
You're just going to find it. It's just a bit harder to find. And then you won't reach like a crazy mass audience like some like other people, but like you will find a dedicated fan base.
That's true. And I mean, to be honest, it's the thing of like I'm not. This sounds crazy because I'm trying to like promote an album and I'm trying to and I've got a tour that's going to be coming up and I've got other things going on. I'm not actually trying. I'm not really trying to make it. I'm just trying. I just want to be creative.
Yeah.
Because obviously we've not talked about it, but I DJ in evenings. I do weddings and I do clubs and I just do lots of DJing. But my other daytime job is I teach rap lyric writing in schools.
Oh, okay.
So I work with Gwen Music and a company called Beat Technique, and we travel, we go all over South Wales, and
Yeah.
I teach literacy through music by teaching them rap and lyric writing and how
Yeah.
to write songs and how to think about storytelling differently. That's my whole. That's what I do. I'm doing the Abergavenny Writing Festival that's coming up.
Yes, I know that one. Yeah.
I've got that, and there's one in Merthyr that I'm doing as well. The Literacy Festival in Merthyr, I'm doing that as well. And I'm doing workshops, and I'm doing like that's what I actually do for a living. When I'm not teaching, I'm doing that. So music is my career.
Yeah.
Like it sounds like, I'm like not just sort of saying like our kids always ask me, "Are you famous?" Always. If I'm in a primary school, they always say, "Are you famous?" I'm like, "No."
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, they look disappointed. I'll be honest. But I'm like, I'm talented. I have skill. It's never for me though. And when I was younger, I was chasing fame. I was not chasing fame, but I was chasing success in that way.
Yeah.
But what's changed for me is what I think success is.
Mm-hmm.
So it used to be success was magazines, CDs, albums, tours, all that. And yes, it's still a success. But now my viewpoint on I do music for a living. That's successful. If you told me when I was 24 that I was going to be doing music as a career and that would be my career, maybe not in the way I think.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have believed it. Because I'd actually come away from music for a really long time.
Yeah.
I was doing rap and stuff for a long while. And then when I was 21, just didn't do any music. Just for 5 or 6 years. Did nothing. And then I moved back to Wales and I was working as a youth worker in Abergavenny first. And then I was working in Cymru as a youth worker. And the young people there discovered I could rap. Because I was rapping, but I was just kind of messing about. Yeah. And then a few of them were saying, "Oh, I rap," and then I started some workshops while working there. And then I was like, "Oh God, I actually really miss doing this."
Yeah.
And then I recorded a mixtape that took me 3 years. It took me 3 years to finish it. For context, the last 3 albums that I've done have all taken me about 6 months to a year each to complete and record and make all the music for and do everything I need to do. Do artwork, do everything. The mixtape I did took 3 years, but I think it was because it was new, and I was beating myself up. And sometimes releasing something that isn't finished is better than never finishing it and never releasing it. I'd rather release something that isn't quite there than never actually getting to release it. And there's a beatboxer I work with, and there was a bit of a joke between us. Every time we did anything in a school or we did a show, he'd go, "Sheldon's got a mixtape coming out, when's it coming out, Sheldon?" For 2 years he was saying this, right? And I remember, I was towards the end I was like, "Oh man, I feel bad." Because I just wasn't releasing it.
Yeah.
And then I released that, and then I was and then I didn't do anything for a little while, I was still writing, and then suddenly, the bug got me, and then it was and then I was writing, and now I can't stop writing. I cannot stop writing. I have so many songs that I've written and done nothing with, but I'm going to come back to that. I'm not going to hound myself into finishing it. I'll just go back to it.
I do that a lot. There was I had an idea for a chorus last July, I think, and I had no idea what to do with it. I just had this one little 4 lines, and I was like, I can't figure out what is built around that yet. Didn't even know if it was a chorus. I just had this little section, and it was bugging the hell out of me. But I just left it alone. I carried on with other stuff, and then it wasn't until January this year where I was just kind of messing around with it again, and just all of a sudden the entire thing just came to me instantly, and I had the song there done. I
love that when that happens. That's so great.
Oh, it's incredible.
It's such a great feeling. One of the things that I find as well is if I'm creating something or making something, and I've had writer's block a few times. For a rapper.
Yeah.
The worst thing that can happen.
It's
because
that is
but one of the things that I found, and it's one of the things I teach in schools when I go in there, write anything. Write nonsense, write anything, write 20 pages of nothing, but you'll find that in that line, somewhere, it doesn't even need to rhyme, it can just be you just jotting nonsense down. But within those 20 pages, there will be something that will capture your imagination, and that will be something you can continue on from. I often talk to I rap the Gruffalo for kids.
Mm-hmm.
When I go to primary schools, I rap the Gruffalo because it's such a well thought out. It's easy to rhyme, it's easy to rap, and it's a well thought out introduction to writing a rap.
Yeah.
Because if I just the beginning is mouse took a stroll through the deep dark wood. There are 9 words there. But like a mouse is a small mammal, it's small, you know it's small because you know what mice are. Mouse is also alone because there's nobody else being explained to be in the story yet. Mouse took a stroll, so we took means we know it happened in the past. Took a stroll. Stroll means we know he went on a slow walk, which means he was relaxed. Mouse took a stroll through deep dark wood. Deep dark wood makes us think that the wood is scary. Now if you look at that, is the mouse afraid? Mouse is not afraid, and we know that because the mouse is strolling through the deep dark scary wood. So he's relaxed. Nobody that's scared is relaxed. So like to a deep dark wood. So like in that one line, mouse took a stroll through the deep dark wood. I've told you a bunch of information that you might not even realise you're being told. And that's one of my things is like if you just write nonsense. Like I put cream cheese on a bagel. And that's like alright. I toast it if I am able. Like, okay, that makes sense. And then you just continue just writing nothing.
Yeah.
And then eventually you'll come to something and you'll be like, you'll write something and you'll be like, there's a line there. I wonder if I can and then you can turn one word into another word and then that becomes something completely different. So then the thing you started writing becomes this whole other thing. It's, but by just write. Just write gibberish, just write Rapper's Delight, I said hip hop, the hip hop, stop the rocket to the bang, boogie to the rocket, boogie to the beat. Means nothing, right? And if I wrote that down, somebody would look at that and go like, what?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not like I'm saying that's the gold standard of rap, but it's a start to something. Yeah. And you're like, okay, but he's just using it as a percussive thing. He's like, and it's the same with all music. Rap especially because it's so reliant on writing. I find sometimes when I write, used to be, not now, but sometimes I write stuff and I'd be like, oh, this is depressing. Yeah. Like, why am I'm not even depressed. Like, what is my subconscious trying to tell me? But just write. That's the only tip I would ever have for anyone. If you feel like I'm stuck. Write about anything. Don't think I need to write this song. Think I just need to write about anything, even if it's about the cup of tea I'm drinking. Yeah. Or if it's about anything, literally just anything. You just start writing. Eventually, something will jump out at you, and then you can take that one element and then put it on a new page, and then start fresh.
Yeah. Do you prefer? Oh, because this album coming out is very autobiographical.
Yeah.
So, this is something I sort of not struggle with, but I think about a lot when I'm writing songs is how much do I write about real world stuff that's actually happened compared to what am I making up kind of thing. So do you prefer autobiographical songwriting or fiction? Because right now I'm in a fiction mindset with my stuff, and I'm just completely making everything up, making little stories, done.
Do you know what I would say? I write I've got a song on my first album, Matter. Mm-hmm. It's called Matter, the album is, and that's on Spotify, and it's called The Deer. It's about a girl who has a bad home life, and that's not my story.
Sure.
And then Coal, Country Around Love, that's a story about what I see. Yeah. So there's truth in that. But what I would say is, I don't think anything we write is truly fictional. So even though it could be about absolutely nothing and whatever, that seems disconnected from you, when it comes from your voice and you're trying to say it, there'll be a reason, and there's got to be something in there that you're trying to say. Yeah. And I think if you're not saying it, not saying you're being disingenuine, but I think if you write something and then you look at it later and you can be you look at it and be like, that doesn't mean anything at all, then I don't think you're being really you. I think even if you write something that's fictional or in a fantasy world or, about whatever it could be about, I actually think, even in lies, there's lies where the truth lies as well, like, you know?
Yeah.
I would say, like, I'm just thinking now, like, there's a song on my album called London Parables, on my new album, and it's about, there's literally 3 stories that I tell in that, and they're all true, but they also sound like completely made up nonsense, but they're not, because they're just goofy things that happened to me when I was growing up there. Whether you're making something up, or whether you're... So I got a track on my first album called Ain't a Batman. And it's like, it's literally a song about a friend of mine who, when he drinks, thinks he's a superhero. He thinks he's indestructible. And the literal chorus is, da-na-na-na-na-na-na, you ain't a Batman, da-na-na-na-na, you just sit, like, it's just this thing of like, just making, and like, in it, I mentioned and reference, so many comic books, it's like ridiculous, comic book characters and comic book, now that's kind of like completely fantastical, because obviously he doesn't actually think of himself as a superhero, but he does act differently, he does act a bit other, you know. And so I think even songs that are really real have an element of falsehood in them. Sure. And I also think that like really like fantastical stories also have elements of the truth. I think it's like I don't think you can name a song in history that's so out there that doesn't have something connected to somebody that wrote it.
Yeah.
Even like, you know, even if it's like a pop song that seems all fluff and nonsense. Yeah. Like the Macarena, for instance. Do you know what the Macarena is about?
No, I don't know what it's about. So you're gonna be like, do you know the song?
The Macarena is about a woman who has an affair with a guy's 2 best friends when he is shipped off to war or to service on a ship.
But it's a fun song.
Exactly. Right. That song is about like there's literally a bit like something his 2 friends, but they were so fine. There's literally that lyric in it. There's a bunch, but that song is about that. That song's nuts, right? I'm at wedding. I DJ weddings, and sometimes I hate playing any of that kind of stuff. I try not to, right? Sometimes that song I will play. Yeah. And I will tell you now, the feeling I get of watching people do this, right, to a song that's about having a threesome with somebody's friends at a wedding is weird, right? I mean, it's you know, it's just lots of things that like nobody would know that to listen to that song because it's like, you know, unless you really dissect it and like go into it. But there's loads of stuff like that nobody really thinks about. That's my favourite example because nobody's listening to that song thinking, I know what that's about.
You know, what's the song? The dance.
Exactly. It's a song that this DJ hates. I get why people like it, but there's so many songs that are like, so many songs that when you listen to them, you're like, okay. Like, it's why I like ska music so much. And ska punk as well, like Less Than Jake, River Fish, but I also going back to Toots and the Maytals from the 60s. And John Holt and Jimmy Cliff and all these people, amazing artists. That music sounds joyous. And often it's really not. It's quite depressing and quite sad stuff that they're singing about, but it's got this calypso sort of beat. Quite disguised. So I think when it comes to writing music, I think going back to the point, like you write what you know. Even if what you're writing isn't true, I think you can't help but write what you know.
Yeah, it's like Stephen King. Like he'll write crazy fucking stories, but every main character is an author. They're struggling for something.
It's easy when there's a point of view character that you can see through. I think it makes it easier. And I think, like loads of situations like that. There's loads of stuff that happens, and like, you know, I'm actually just thinking about like. I've got nothing on this album that isn't... Every song on this album is something I've experienced or I went through in London. It's very autobiographical. But on other albums that I've done, there is stuff in those albums that are... Like, I've got a song called TikTok off my second album, and it's about time. It's about time slipping away from us. And the thing is, like, I use some fantastical ideas and some thoughts and stuff. But it's all real.
Yeah.
It's all true. I think sometimes this is true. I've had people that I've known in the past, even my partner now, she says the same thing. And like exes have said it as well, like, when they've been around for writing, they're like, my dad especially, I was in like a prog band, and I would sing. We had a song called Whitechapel, which is about Jack the Ripper, and I remember we've also got a song called, there's a song that's on the new album called London Colours, which is about football hooliganism, and that begins with "You're going home in an ambulance," singing it, and it's like pretty full on. And I remember we did a gig, and that night my dad saw us do that in that band. He went, "I gotta go for a walk." He went for a walk after watching us, and he said, "You're not ever gonna let any of those dark things get to you." And I'm like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" But it's obviously come from somewhere. But I don't think that it was from a depressed place. I think it was genuinely just some creative thing where I'm like, well, I'm just gonna put myself in this situation.
Sure.
But we did that gig. I remember it was a band called Magnum. I loved that band. They were great, really weird, but fantastic. And the guitarist had to move away. It was just a whole messy thing. And I remember the thing about that. We did that gig in Swansea, and it was we went home in an ambulance, and then the music kind of goes down, and then it swells back up. And during the drop down in the music, just heard somebody in the crowd go, "What the fuck?" And I'm like, I don't care if you like us, if you hate us, if I get a reaction like that, I have won. Right? That is it. I have won the night. Like, if that's the reaction I get out of you, I've won. Like, literally, the person, the music went, and then he was just about to like smash into something, and just hear this person in the back and go like, "What the fuck?" Like, really loudly, right? But it genuinely, and the funny thing was, we were doing a horror rock night.
Yeah.
And we were probably what would have been looked at as like, with like the band and the way that like the other bands, what they were called, and the way they dressed, we probably would have been seen as the band that was the least horror-like. We were definitely the band that created the most kind of like stir, in the sense of like, what is happening? Like, what is happening right now? This is mental.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool. Why now for this sort of journey back through your London days? Because how long have you been back in Wales, did you say?
It's gonna be 15 years.
15 years.
This July.
So why not do this like straight away when you left? Like, did you need some time to kind of like start to miss it, or?
I wasn't. No. I've missed it since. I've missed it ever since I left. I needed this time to say goodbye. Right. I wasn't ready to let go of it. Right. It's a really like, there's some songs on there. There's one song called Die Crying from a High Rise, and there's another song on the new album called Just Goodbye. And it is literally me just sort of like laying it to rest. And it was that thing of like, my last album had some London stuff in it, and the album before that had Welsh stuff in it and some London stuff in it. And I realised that, I'm holding on to something that I don't know anymore. I don't have like the grip on it that I did. Yeah. It's changed. I've changed, and I still miss it. I have a daughter who lives down here now, and I would move back to London if I could afford it. And if I didn't have like the emotional tie here now that I do. Yeah. And it's not because it's funny because I moved up to London when I was 6. Lots of people talk about London in a way that isn't. They say that it's just a city and it's like everyone's out for themselves and stuff. Not the experience I had. I can imagine moving there if I was 20. Yeah. I can imagine it would feel very foreign and different. Moving there when I was 6, the communities were the ones you built. Yeah. And those people were around for the rest of your life. Also, I came to Wales, and it's taken me a really long time to build any kind of relationship with anyone, because I didn't grow up in the same school. I didn't grow up in the same town. I didn't have the same friends. I didn't have lots of people I know I've made friends with in the last 15 years, and it's been really hard. Yeah. Because especially because I'm already an adult. most people don't want to make friends with an adult. Like, it's not like when you're a kid and you just want to make as many friends as you can and then hopefully hold on to as many of them as you can.
Yeah.
It's all about kind of like creating new friendships is really difficult, especially when, and I would say this about the music industry in Wales, I would say it's quite insular. And it is the same everywhere, but the difference in London was I could go to a gig in London, not know anyone, go in, and I could probably make friends with people.
Yeah.
Because, I know you could say you could do that here, but when you walk in here, there's a are you local feeling. Like, I can walk into a place here and open mic and they're like, oh, who's that? There's a bit of a, I've got a backup. And then sometimes people confuse me for English. And in some places in Wales, that's still a problem.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, and I'm like, where in England are you from, my bad? And I'm like, I'm nowhere. I'm from a place called Llandairo. I'm actually more Welsh than you are, probably. I just moved away at a young age.
Yeah.
So this whole thing and the concept behind it is like literally just like me having to say like I love London. I love what it gave me. I'm glad I grew up there. I need to now. I can't move forward unless I say everything I need to say. And I needed this long to be able to know what I needed to say. It's actually like some of the album recording it was really hard. It took the Cry Down from a High Rise took me about 25 takes on like a certain section because I was like getting choked up.
Yeah.
Because I was like, well, this is the end of it. This is I'm not going back there. And I don't know if I would even like it if I went back because I've been away for so long.
And you would just be searching for what you used to have.
I'm searching for what used to be there because actually, I live near Croydon. There were so many amazing. I grew up there then in like the best time I could have grown up there. There were so many amazing venues, nights. Just like the people who were around, the alternative community, like when I got punks and skaters and the hip hop community in there was incredible as well. When I moved, all of those places that I remember being so joyous, they disappeared.
Yeah.
And actually, it's a nostalgia thing. I remember amazing things because I did have an amazing time. I grew up in London at an amazing point in my life where, this was actually genuinely I was lucky. If I'd grown up there 10 years later, I don't think it would have been the same. Because those places would have been closed and I wouldn't have been 18 to 25 at the right time and it would have just been an unusual and difficult thing to go through. So it is just a case of I've not been ready to say goodbye.
Right.
And I don't know if I'm ready now, but I have to do it.
Right.
That's the only way I can sort of describe it.
Can I ask why you left in the first place?
Money! I was sick of grind.
Yeah.
Office job, the shop work or whatever I was doing. Moving to Wales, one thing moving to Wales did is it made me, this is something, a bit of a bigger fish in a smaller pond.
Right.
So there's other people in London. There's so many people, there will be other people who are doing what you do, and there will be other opportunities that you won't be able to go for because other people will do it for less. I was DJing, I was doing other things in London. When laptops became a big thing, everyone suddenly had a laptop, everyone became DJ. There was free DJ software, everyone became DJ.
Yeah.
And then the jobs that I was getting paid 200 quid for, somebody was coming along and saying, I'll do that for 40 quid.
Yeah.
And then it didn't matter if they were good or not.
Yeah.
Because they're doing it for 40 quid.
Yeah.
What's funny is, all the venues that I used to DJ in that now don't exist were the ones that were paying less money for someone. So actually, it's not surprising because I think that people started falling out of love with going out because I think there were lots of I'm a DJ DJs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I moved away because I couldn't afford it. Genuinely, it was just it's just living in London was crazy. And my dad was thinking about moving because I was living with my dad in London for a long time. He was thinking about moving, and I just sort of do you know what? I don't know why I moved back to Wales. I could have lived anywhere. but I did know some people here.
Yeah, it's like a familiarity thing.
Yeah, and like, you know, even in this area, I did know some people that lived in this because they were friends with my dad.
Yeah.
So like I had options.
Yeah.
So I was lucky in that respect.
Yeah.
But leaving London was right.
Mm.
I should have, and I did it at the right time. But I didn't really have much of a choice.
Mm.
It was at that point where I just got to make the decision, and if I don't do it, then I'm just going to really struggle. And I don't want to be one of those. Like I just don't want to be. I didn't want to be living my life struggling, doing a job I hate, just to live in a bedroom in a flat with a shed. Like, you know, I just didn't want that to happen.
Yeah, that's.
And I thought that was going to happen.
Yeah. Have you ever been back, whether it's like for like a night?
Oh, I go back all the time.
Oh, right.
I'm actually. So on the 20th of this month, March. I don't know when you release this, but.
Yeah.
On the 20th of March, I've got a gig in London, in Kingston upon Thames, Ram Jam Records, and then I've got a gig in Bedford, and then I've got a gig in Milton Keynes on Saturday, and then in the daytime in a record shop, and then I've got a gig in Oxford.
Nice.
So I've got it's the weekend my album comes out.
Yeah.
So I'm literally doing like a sort of tour. My CD's being sent off to be pressed.
Nice.
I'm because as much as people don't do physical. If you do a gig, people come and watch you. They will buy. They will buy because actually, you'd be surprised how many people still use CDs in the car.
Yeah.
Know, and if they like you, and I'm of the mind, I would rather my music go out there than make a lot of money.
Mm.
So I also print my own T-shirts.
Yeah.
So like this, like I can only do one colour. This is before I had a beard, but this is. So I'm printing my own T-shirts for it as well.
Yeah.
So I'm literally doing it's like £10, CD fully printed.
Yeah.
Album with a T-shirt.
Yeah.
I'm making enough to kind of like do the tour, but I'm also you're getting like a T-shirt and the album.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it's like, and like for me, like I'd rather 50 people buy my album and me earn basically nothing on it than 20 people buy it and there's 30 people who will never hear me or will not listen to me ever again. You'd be surprised how having a CD of someone will make you put it on. Yeah. Like in a car situation, I think cars are the biggest thing. Like in a car situation, if you're in a car, God, I said car a lot then. I don't think the word matters anymore. If you're driving, I had to change the word. If you're driving, putting like you put the radio on, but sometimes like just you're like, oh, I went to that gig and I've got that CD in the car. Just put it on, yeah. But it's also you don't know who else is going to be in the car that I listen to. And be like, oh, I might go and listen to them. Mm-hmm. Listen to that. Oh, I like that song. Where's that song? Oh, he's on Spotify, but I just got the CD. Okay, I'm going to listen. It's just that thing, you know. I just I'm also when you buy the CD, it's also going to come with a bonus CD that's got songs that I haven't released.
Oh, nice.
That I'm not going to release. It's just 5 songs. Yeah. They're not going anywhere. They're just not going on anything. They're just 5 songs that are just going to be like as a freebie.
Yeah, that's cool.
They're ones I'm just doing myself.
Yeah.
You know, have you seen those vinyl CDs? They look like vinyl. They look like records.
They're
blank. They're black. They're black on the side, and they look like records.
That's cool.
Right? And I'm just gonna do them myself. Yeah. But they just go with it. It's just like a little kind of kit that people can just take and they just get a bunch.
So with these upcoming gigs you got, in getting those. Are you emailing the places and messaging them yourself, or do you work with someone that they sort of?
I work with somebody. I'm really lucky. I've got a friend, and actually, he's the person that this is crazy, but he's the person that I worked with in the co-op in Oxford.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
we're still in touch. And
yeah.
He had a gig. He had the gig for me on the Thursday in London, and actually, I pushed my album back a month.
Right.
It was going to be coming out in February,
right?
But I was like, no, I'm like, well, if I'm doing that, well, I was just going to do one gig, and I said, oh, I'm going to release my album that day then, and he said, oh, great. He said, oh, do you want to do some other gigs? And I was like, where? And then so he said, oh, we'll do Friday in Bedford, and I was like, all right, wicked. And then he was like, oh, also, do you want to do a record shop on Saturday day? And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. So then he was like, so we got another friend from Bedford called Exit.
Yeah.
And he's somebody who's on my second album. He's got a song there. Find and Escape is the song he's on. And we just literally, he organised that. And then my friend from Oxford said, oh, do you want to do a gig in Oxford as well in the night? And I'm like, yeah. Sign me up, let's do as many gigs as we can.
Yeah.
So we literally just, so it's through him. I'll be honest, finding gigs down here, hard as anything.
Yes.
Especially hip hop stuff. Especially, and I would say like Cardiff I'd probably be able to do it. But again, we come to this problem. It's that community thing of Wales is so insular. And in the hip hop community especially, if you're an outsider, well, what's your agenda? You're lucky when you can meet people like organisers like Petey here, he's great and he helps you out. I mean, he's not putting me on any hip hop gigs because he's not putting on hip hop gigs.
Yeah.
I'm sure if he did, he'd think of me straight away and he'd be like, oh, I'm going to get Sheldon down here.
Yeah.
But there's so many opportunities I could be doing, but they're not giving me the opportunity because they're like, well, I don't know you. And it's like, it's the opportunity to prove myself. It's like when you first go for a job. You can't get the job because you've got any experience. But you can't get any experience until you've got the job. And it's literally you're in this catch-22 a situation where people don't want to give you an opportunity or a chance to be on their stage or in their event or on their night because they don't know you. Yeah. I tell you, one community down in Wales that's amazing, there's a guy called Matthew Han from Cardiff. He's a beatboxer. And he does the beatbox Flowcase is the name of the competition. And that's coming up in May. He's amazing. He's a really cool guy. And the beatbox community, unbelievably cool community. There's they all want to share their skills with each other. And they show off and they're in a competition, but there's no animosity. Yeah. It's very different to hip hop, rap and that kind of thing. Which, wasn't even a thing really until it was a thing in the 80s, but it became really big in the 90s, the kind of like the beef and the animosity between other rappers. Yeah. And now it's kind of like everyone's just, I'm not chasing fame, I want experiences, I want to perform, that's all I want to do. But so many of them are like, I want to become famous, I want to do something, I want to make it or whatever. Yeah. But I'm competing with them. Yeah. And that's a really difficult thing to do because actually, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to make something big and better. I'm not trying to compete with you. Like I wanna raise you up as much as you can help me just actually just perform. Yeah. But band wise, I'm in bands down here as well. I've been in bands, I'm in one now, we're on hiatus at the moment, but band wise, there's a lot more opportunities if you're just in a band.
For gigs and stuff.
When you're in a band, you feel like there's no opportunities, and you're like, oh, it's so hard to get gigs. When you're a rapper, it's so much harder to get gigs than it is if you're in a... Because when you're in a band, even if you're not doing covers, there's melody in a way that people can just get along with. When you're doing rap, if you don't like rap, you're probably not going to give it a chance. Yeah. And even if I do some of my hip hop stuff really different, but nobody's going to give that an opportunity because they're like, oh, I'm online there. This is
especially when especially in Wales, a lot of the people that are still going to pubs, bars or whatever of the older generation, and a lot of them have a stigma against rap music, be like, this is rubbish, I don't listen to this, blah 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 blah. They're just grumpy about it, they don't accept it. You need to get in front of younger people, I think, to reach that kind of crowd. It doesn't have to be super young,
the thing is, I'm not young now. I'm beginning to I'm 40. Yeah. I'm beginning to reach that age now where you look at me and be like, oh, look at the old guy over there. And but what I mean is but what I would say is, in Wales, I'm noticing lots of people between the age of 25 and 35 aren't going out.
No, that's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I mean.
So actually, which is crazy. Yeah. And when they do, they're going out for the rugby. And when the rugby's on, there isn't anything else on. They might have a band later, but chances are no. Yeah. So actually, you kind of in this situation where people don't go out for live music as much anymore.
No, they don't. They don't. I've talked to Petey about it a few times where like live music for me personally now is because I've done it since I was 20, so like 8 years this year would be like playing live. And I get the gist of it now. I like doing it, but like all I'm really getting out of it now is the content to post.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and see, I know that I need to do that. Right. I'm so rubbish at making content. If you go on my Instagram and my TikTok, right, all my content is full length videos that I've made in my house with a green screen, and I've done you should watch some of my videos. They're crazy. I've done some crazy stuff in my videos, like some really crazy stuff. I edit together little stories. I've got a song on my new album called A Christmas Tale. Yeah, which is about when I went to London when I was like 8 or 9, and my dad and me went up to London to a place called Box City, and we fed the homeless. We just took food, and we were there until 2, 3, 4 in the morning. I don't remember exactly what time, and we just talked to them. And I found out their stories, because I asked my dad once while we were walking. I said, "Why is that man sleeping in that shop shop doorway?" And he just said. So because he said hard times and he's struggling and stuff, and I was like, right. And he said, and then one night coming up to Christmas, it was like December time. He just took me up there. Box City isn't there anymore, and that's not because there's no homeless. It's because the government decided that they didn't want homeless people all congregated together, which is a shame. Yeah. Because actually there was less problems when they were all in one area because they were looking after each other. Yeah. If one of them was having a problem with drugs and stuff, or there was an overdose or something, somebody else was gonna they get the ambulance there and stuff. But now you're actually finding that people aren't getting the help they need, and they're not there supporting and running around each other. But when we went up there, I learned about the stories, and my dad actually played me. We came home, and he played me "Streets of London" by Ralph McTell. Do you know that song?
I think so. I think that song's big.
Let me take you by the hand, I'll lead you through the streets of London, show you something to make you change your mind. And it's a song about being homeless. Right. And it's unbelievably amazing song. That song, I must have been 7 or 8. That song is the song that, I would have been 8 or 9, I don't know. I was young. And that song is the song that made me realise that our music is different. Music is different to any other art form. Like, painting can make you feel something. Yeah. And a film can make you feel something. Yeah. But a song can change your mind. Yeah. It made me look at things differently. Even obviously I'd had that experience as well, and then listen to the song and think, I know a film can change your mind. But the song, that's one of those situations where it was a fictional, it's a true story, but it isn't true because it's someone singing about people that don't really exist, but they definitely do exist. Yeah. And so that changed my whole outlook on music and what writing was, and what it meant to be a writer, and what it meant to tell a story, and how powerful words are. I know there's a lot of discourse around the fact that music can't change the world, but music has changed the world so many times, that you'd have to be naive to think that music can't change the world. I remember somebody once, I was going to see a show at the BBC in the bar there. Our next door neighbours, when I was younger, they worked for the BBC, and their brother was playing a gig there, an acoustic one, in the bar. Went there, perfectly fine, enjoyed it. I remember they were having a conversation in the car, and I was saying something about Bob Dylan, and I said something about music changing the world, and one of the guys said, "That's naive, music doesn't change the world." And I actually think it's naive to think that music, he says, "That's naive, music doesn't change the world." And I actually think it's naive to think that music doesn't change the world. I think that's the naive thing. Because, don't get me wrong, you might not notice the change when it's happening. Of course, but you might not, but it's happening. The birth of teenagers, as an idea in the 50s, is all centred around rhythm and blues and rock and roll. It happened because of music. The 70s in London for punk music and the specials and even when it came to when there was the clash against when they did the concert against racism, that was a big deal. And I'm not saying that of course, when I say change the world, I don't mean like, oh, we got rid of racism, because of course it didn't. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
What I mean is, it's just like, even the ability to change one person's mind about something is a big deal. If I can have a conversation with somebody and I can change their mind at the end of it, like, that's an open-minded person. But if I can make them listen to a song that makes them go away and then they might come back. I know people that have like listened to music and been angry about what's being said, and then come back and they're angry because I think it touches a nerve. Not all the time, but I know some people that's happened to.
Yeah.
And I think music can change the world. And I don't mean on a mass scale, but you only need to change the world of one person to make a big difference in how they view the world or how they move forward or how they think about things. I think that's incredible. Like, can you imagine, like, as a singer, as an artist, or as a rapper, or whatever you do, you'll speak to somebody in music and you tell them something that you think, and they listen to that, and they actually just take it in, even if they don't think the same as you. Such a powerful thing to be able to do. Like, you just being able to say to somebody, I think this, and this is my point of view. Even if that person doesn't go away with the same view as you, the fact that you've been able to say to somebody that this is my thoughts, that's wild. Like, so even though some of my stuff only gets like 150 streams, or it might get, like, I've got like some videos that have over 1,000, like whatever, I don't care. Like, because there's, like, when I go into schools, the young people that always end up writing are the ones that the teachers tell me they probably won't write anything. And it's not because I'm so cool, it's because I'm telling them to think differently. When I go in there and I say, just write anything, just write silliness, just write nonsense, write what you want to write, there's no rules. I've just come in and said there's no rules to English. Like, they're like, what? They're like, what do you mean there's no rules? It's like, what do you mean there's no rules? I said, look, it's important you learn the rules, but right now, you don't need to know any rules, just write what you think, just write what you feel. And they can't be rude, but
the teacher comes in. So what have you done? Fuck shit. And
my favorite thing is like they sometimes, like, I do have sometimes in schools and they go, can we write about this? Can we write about school? And I'm like, yeah, we can write about school. Don't use any offensive language, and let's not single any teachers out.
I hate Miss.
But if you want to write about school, let's write about it. So then we'll start, and then I'll say, well, why do you hate that? And then I'll be like, and then some of them I say, oh, well, the teacher's awful. And I'm like, right, okay, well, beyond that, what is it you don't like about it? And I'm like, well, I don't understand it. And we're like, well, should we hate everything we don't understand? And then we get on to conversations that are really challenging. But don't need to be, because actually, when you come to, like, prejudice, whatever face that takes, often we're prejudiced because we don't understand stuff.
Sure.
And actually that sounds crazy, because I'm not saying maths and racism are the same thing. But what I am saying is the principle is the same. If we don't understand something, immediately it can make us feel uncomfortable. And what we need to learn to be comfortable in uncomfortability. That's not a word. But like I said, forget the rules of English. We need to be comfortable in being uncomfortable. We need to, because eventually, if you lie on a bed of nails, it might feel uncomfortable to begin with. Eventually, you just get used to it. And that doesn't mean that that's like a good thing, but it can mean that you can, like, you start thinking to yourself, oh, let's just remove these nails. Let's think about doing it differently. I'm talking in so many different, like, analogies. It's actually crazy. Don't even know what's happening anymore. I've completely lost the plot. I've gone way off course. I'm way off course right now. I've gone, like, really off course. I'm that guy. I'm going that way. So I'm like, I want to go. Wow.
Well, now you've pointed it out again. You did briefly, you painted this yourself, yeah?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
That's really cool.
Thank you. My actual album is a picture of this.
Yeah.
But it's me walking past it, and it's a blurred shadow.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's actually a thing of me walking past something that I think is beautiful, but it's gone.
Yeah.
So it's like just a representation of, like, me actually leaving something behind,
Yeah.
something that I think is beautiful, but it's gone. Like, and that's the concept of the album.
Yeah.
And so I painted it because I always want to make my job difficult.
You're like,
It took me so long. I can't even describe.
You know what else I need to do myself? I need to paint the album.
I record my videos, edit my own videos, edit my photos. I took my own photos.
Yeah.
My album artwork is done on a timer. That's the kind of commitment I've got to my art, right?
Yeah.
I make my own beats, I make my own lyrics, I make everything. So I'm recording everything myself. It's all crazy.
Yeah.
But I had a concept, and then it was stuck in my head. But my last album's cover is me with an umbrella standing in a river.
Yes, I've seen that cover.
It's me going like this, standing in a river.
Mm-hmm.
That's a real river. That's a river in Llandilo.
Yeah.
That album is called Lost in Transition. The reason it's called that is because every song is about leaving one thing for another or thing. That is the album. It shouldn't be, but it is definitely the album that precurses this, because that album is about me coming to Wales, and it's about me leaving something behind. I'm lost in transition. I lost myself in the transition of moving back to Wales. This is me now being in Wales, basically. This is me saying goodbye. So this is London, but it's me saying goodbye. This song. There's literally there's gonna be songs on this album that if you've never lived in London, you're gonna be like, what?
Yeah, but then the people who live in London will be like,
and there's some people who live in London will also be like, what the heck? There's a song I've got called the LDN A to Z, and it's literally on my last album I had a song called Homeschooled, which I'll do it a little bit, but it's alphabetical, so I went apply answers, assimilated action, as able as Atlas to acquire global attraction, able to alienate as I articulate, avoid attacks and assaults, armoured I await, belittle and bombardments to become blessings, reach the brain, bewilder, brethren, bolstering, breath behind, balance, begin bouncing, blistering, so it's A, B, C, and it goes on like that. This one, every line, or almost every line, is a letter from a London place. So, because people say I'm acting, which is actin. People say I'm acting. So crazy, barking. Round of applause, Clapham. Shots drinking down them. Places of paradise, Eden Park. You know full well. London the spark. Gallows like on the corner hanging. Burning the wick. Climbing the hill, Hampton.
Yeah.
No leash, Isle of Dogs. So it's literally just like, and it goes with the alphabet, right? I do not make my job easy in any way, right? At all. I make myself I really there's literally a line that I'm from a place in London. I grew up in a place called South Norwood, and I literally go I'm from South Norwood. You doubt. So yes, I'm from South Norwood. You doubt, but it's yes, I'm from South Norwood. You doubt. So it's literally, and it's also in the way I'm performing it. I can't say yes, I'm from South Norwood. Would you yes, I'm from South Norwood. You doubt. It doesn't. Yes, I'm from South Norwood. You doubt. So it's literally all of those elements when you're recording. It's all about the inflection and all about the way you say it. So this came to me, right, as an idea. This is what I got to do. This is, I wanted to do it London to me is a piece of art that I'm leaving behind. That was the idea. This was last minute. I almost ruined the whole picture for this man flying falling through it. I'm not even joking. And this is kind of to be taken in a couple of ways, but moving to London when you're 6, this is what you feel like.
Sure.
Literally, this is what you feel like.
Yeah.
But then also leaving London, that's also what I feel like. It's also I feel like I'm falling into nothing, and I also feel like I don't quite know what's going to happen to me. So it's kind of it's this element of I'm leaving. These are my last days. Even painting the last days. And you can see there's these little buildings in the lettering.
Yeah.
I just why do we as artists do this to ourselves? Well, we kind of create this we make things so. Do you know how many iterations this went through? This used to be a yellow sky. That's not even a joke. That was yellow sun at one point. It was I was every time I was doing something I was that's not right. That's not what I need. Yeah. And until I finally came to it, this is the sort of person I am, right? When I was saying to you about lyrics being important and the thing with mattering, right? That there, right? that there is the this is the evening, but think of it in the winter time, right?
Yeah.
But this is 17/7, which is my birthday. Not even a joke, right? Not even a joke. That's like, so 1707 is my birthday, right? But that's my birthday, right? So so when I say to you, like, everything gets thought about, but it matters to me. No one will ever know. No one. Because if you look at the album, you know the other album, Lost in Transition. I'm in the water. The reflection of London is in the water. You might not notice, but the reflection of London is in the water while I'm standing in a river in the town I was born in, right? And I'm transitioning, which is the flow of river. I'm moving, and I'm stuck. So like when you're like as if being born again, like you're coming out of water. Half of my body is covered in is underwater. The other half is dry. I literally like all of this stuff is stuff that my original rap name before this one was called. I was called The Portrait.
Okay.
Before that, I was Dorian Gray. And the reason for that was because I saw myself as a portrait to what was happening in society. I would rap about the things that I saw going on in society that I didn't like, and I would get scarred and hurt by it. So I was the portrait of Dorian Gray. I was being hurt by what was happening in society. Now, every time I call myself, people would be like, why are you called The Portrait? I was so sick of explaining that whole thing, right? And I got quite good at saying, explaining it, right? I was so sick of it, I changed my name to Sheldon the Rapper. It's easier to explain.
I just fucking like made it up. I feel like I went in The Portrait, I'm like, superhero name. And just left it at that and let people like...
And that, people believe that, because people believe it. But I can't, if I've got a reason for something, and you
have to
ask,
explain it.
I've got to tell you. You know, we've just gone on this painting thing now. I've literally just gone on a monologue about like every decision I've ever made artistically. It's just not normal. Like, none of it is. I like the fact that we've really loosened up now. Like people are going to have to listen to a whole hour of me not saying this kind of stuff. I always do my own artwork and stuff. Like, so even like the picture was actually taken of me in the river was taken by my niece. Mm-hmm. On the album before that, it's actually a picture of my head that's been cut open, and there's a big squiggly line which is my brain. Yeah. And that album's called Matter, and I did that. I drew that as well.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of like in a similar thing where like, or any album artwork, it's always just kind of been something I've come up with, or I do a lot of work with like my partner, because she has like a DSLR camera, so I'm like, great, guess what we're doing today? Yeah.
I did convince my partner to buy a DSLR camera, in the hopes I think that she would like become really efficient at it. She's never used it. I think she used it for like a week, and then she's like put it away. I mean, she will at some point, but I'm like,
yeah. No, like we shot one of the music videos here, and she helped me out with that one. And then I was talking to her the other day or the other week or something, because I brought out like the EP last year, and like the goal is I'd love to do a music video for each song, because only 4 songs, 2 are already done. So I'm like, I got 2 more like music video ideas I need to get through, and like the other week I finally had one for one of the songs. So I think I was in work at the time of something, so I was texting my partner Sean, and I was like, oh, it's gonna look like this, we're gonna like book this room, because basically I had no idea for it until I saw a picture of a room that you could book out, and like I was like, oh fuck, like that's it, that's the room I need. And like so I had the entire music video in my head all sorted then, and I'm like, right. So I was texting Sean, I'm like, it's gonna look like this, I want this to happen, and he's like, oh cool, like how you gonna do that? And I was like, well, you come with me and shoot it all.
Nice.
But it's been a big help. Painting wise though, I cannot paint to save my life. I'd love to, but I always like every now and again I get like an idea like, oh, it'd be really cool to stuff, because like I kind of like drawing, but like whenever I like sit down to try and draw something, that's when the mind goes blank a little bit, and I'm like, I don't know what to draw, and I always end up like looking at like a couple of my favorite like comic book panels, and I'm like, nice. I'll just redraw that.
What comic books? What kind of stuff?
I love Hellboy comics. Mike Mignola's art is incredible.
It's incredible, but also like very much a specific style.
Oh,
It looks very specifically like a
spot it from a mile away as well. Like I was in Waterstones, I think, and I was just kind of browsing through things, and I saw a cover. I didn't know that it existed, but there was like a Witcher comic book, but the cover was Mike Mignola, and I was like, there's no fucking way he did the art for the entire thing. So if he did, I'm buying this thing now. He didn't, he just did the cover. But I got really excited. But yeah, I love Hellboy. I love, right now, because here's the thing with comics, right, is I had so many comic books. This is such a touchy subject, I still get upset about it. I had so many comics digitally. So
I'll never go digital with comics. It's just not my.
Well, the thing is, I had like this was years and years. I was still in comp, and I had an iPad for Christmas.
Yeah.
And I was like sick off school for like 3 days or something, and I was bored. And I was like, you know what? I love Batman and stuff. So I'm just gonna download the DC app, and I'm just gonna start reading. Yeah. And it was around about the time the New 52 was happening.
Right.
So I started buying those, and like. It was so easy to buy digital comics, and they were so cheap as well. Yeah. So like I was my collection of digital comics went fucking crazy. I had so many.
Yeah.
But then I stopped for like a few months or something. Like I just lost track of everything, and I didn't realize that the DC Comics app was closing. The DC app was closing. I had no idea. So. I tried because I didn't have an account either. Like I never made because you could just buy stuff without having to make an account.
Right.
So nothing was linked to anything.
No.
So they were like, "Oh, we've moved everything." Because I tried to open
it was linked, but through the iCloud or wherever you were on, basically that email and how you paid for it through the app.
Yes. Yeah. So it was linked to like my Apple ID.
Yeah. Okay.
So. It was like we've moved everything to Comixology, so I was like, fine.
Well, that doesn't even exist anymore.
No, it doesn't. But so
not properly anyway.
No, I downloaded that, and I was like, maybe all my stuff's there, gone. Everything I had bought, completely gone, and I had so many comics on there. Every single one of them were gone. They did the same to the Marvel app as well, but for some reason, nearly all of those, I think, carried over to the Comixology app at the time. Now I know it's not a thing anymore. So ever since that happened, I swore off digital comics.
So I'll tell you now, this is the big thing. So I've got 4,000 physical comics.
Yeah.
That's how many comics I have.
Yeah.
I've been collecting them since I was 7.
Yeah.
Comics saved my life on more than one occasion. They were really there as a support and stuff like that, like art and everything. It's just one of those things. I will never. I almost always refuse to buy anything digitally. Because I got burned by this with films. So I used to buy Blu-rays.
Yeah.
And you used to get this piece of card in them that would let you download the film digitally.
Yes. Yeah. I remember that.
At one point,
I had or something.
Yeah, that's right. There was a few. It was Ultraviolet. And there was a few of them. I at one point had over 600 films. They're all gone now because they closed down those things and there was no way to get them.
Yeah.
Some of them you could download, but I don't have enough hard drive space to download them. They're like 12 gig each and stuff. And also, how much time is that going to take? Come on. I actually hate digital media. And it's it's like, oh man, it's digital media. It is that, but it's also when you own everything digitally, you actually don't own anything.
Yeah, because they can just take it away.
And they can.
Yeah.
It happened with it happened. Do you play games at all?
Yes.
So do you remember the
PT?
Oh, sorry, there's that. But I was actually. Do you remember the Scott Pilgrim game?
Yeah.
The original. They re-released it.
Yeah, it's out again now.
It's out again now, and I've got physical.
Yeah.
Because I'm not even gonna get caught.
Yeah.
So I had it.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I needed to make space on my computer, I made space on my I think it was on the 360, or was it on my PS3? It was one of them anyway. I had
it delisted it or something so you couldn't download it again.
I couldn't find it. And because I'd removed it from, and I was like, well, I paid for that.
Yeah.
I paid like 20 quid for that game. Now I cannot own that game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's like fine. And I know you could say, well, you've got use out of it. But yeah, but not the same as like, if I buy a record, I can play it for 50 years.
Yeah.
If I buy a CD, I mean, they last maybe not quite as long, but you can look after them, they last a long time. If I buy stuff, I want to be able to always use it. And this is why one of the reasons I like, this is the first album I've done a physical copy of.
Sorry, I can't remember.
That's right.
I know what it is, I'm just not going to answer.
It's one of the I've done a physical copy of. And I get that, like, you know, people can listen to my stuff streaming. I would really like it if they would actually try to reach out to me and buy it physically. And if they do, they won't just get that. They'll get a bunch of stuff. I'm actually doing this as a poster.
Nice.
So that's a poster that's going to be a poster. Not that everyone's going to want it, but I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm doing it as like an A3.
Right. Yeah.
An A3 poster. You know, they don't want, people don't want that size. But so they get in a T-shirt, they get that, they get a CD, and they get it's like it's a couple of stickers.
Yeah.
Just a couple of stickers I've made. But I was actually going to show you something, and I'll actually send you these so you can flash them up on the screen.
Yeah, sure.
Thing. If you just hang on, let me just.
It would be so funny if you did the poster that size though. If you were like, oh, do you want a poster as well? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And you just whip out it.
So if you scroll to the I actually did 6 paintings for this album. So that's one I did sort of me.
Okay.
So they're all going to go in the inlay of the CD. Like you'll be able to see those anyway. But if I send you, I'll send you the images of them. I think it goes to I think the last one might be a phone booth.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And then, but they're paintings I've done as well. But they just, I painted that, and then for whatever reason, I just went, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll paint a bunch of other paintings for no reason whatsoever. So, and the funny thing is, the pink, the blue isn't, but pink, grey, and black, and white are actually the colours I use for everything. If you look at the last album, that's pink, black, white, and grey. Mm-hmm. All the colouring is, and the one before that is as well. Mm. And I always wear a bowler hat. I don't know why I always wear a bowler hat. I just felt like I didn't want to wear a cap. So I now just wear a bowler hat. So that's it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. It's a very, very cool album cover. And it's really, I've always loved album covers where like it's like a painting or something. Mm. That's why I love, they're so cool. Like you get like old like metal albums, like any Dio album cover, and like that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life. Like there's something a bit more to it other than like, oh, use a picture of someone. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Kendrick Lamar, but you know, album covers you like sat in a car, like
it would be nice to see something that just felt like it wasn't just like GNX. I get it because it's the car. Yeah. But would be really nice for me to like see an album that was, or to see a cover that was like. Sometimes you want to see something that you feel is like oh, there's been real thought and process and like stuff got put into that, and I think that comes down to the fact that some of my favourite album artwork has probably been stuff that I look at and I'm like, oh, that's been thought about, and I think that's why I spend too much time on it. I do spend too much time on it. I know I do. I've got other things I need to be doing. Like I don't need to be painting this for a month. Yeah. Like, you know, and like it took me a month, not full on, but it took me a month because I was changing it all the time. There's so many layers of paint on that thing that honestly, and it was just, like that moon was changing. It was 3 different colours. It was yellow to begin with, then it was like a red colour, then it was white. Yeah. And it's like that thing of making those decisions. Like I could pay someone to do it, but then part of me is like, when I make something, I want it to be completely me. Yeah. And especially when it's this. But my next, I've already know what my next album's going to be. It's crazy. Like, I'm like, you know.
I 100% get what you mean, because like as soon as I was done with the EP last year, and I know the whole thing is like, right, now you got to promote it, you got to like plug in and stuff, but in my head, I was like mentally done with it at that point, and I was already thinking about like the next thing to do. Yeah. It's weird, man. There's a weird, I say detachment, but I don't mean it in a bad way. It's almost like you've ticked a box mentally in your brain to be like, right, that's done now. Even though realistically, you should, you do have to like continue with it.
Well, realistically, I've only just started because I've done it, and now I know kind of push it and get people to listen.
Yes,
so it's actually realistically, I've kind of only just started.
I know, yeah.
But actually, doesn't feel like that.
Yeah, I know. It's especially because it's been with you for such a long time as well. Like that's another thing. Making music is a weird thing like that because no one's been with the songs or the music as much as you or me or whatever. So then the moment it's out there for people, it's new for people.
You're already sick of a lot of the songs.
Yeah, I'm done with that now. I'm like, want to do this.
This is the one thing I will say. I'm not sick of anything on this album yet. And it's the first time that's ever happened to me.
Yeah, that's
I'm not sick of anything.
Yeah.
And I normally get to this point where I'm getting it out there and everything's going ahead.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm normally like, I don't want to listen to this. I don't want to think. I'm not. I'm actually quite excited about performing some of this stuff.
Nice.
Like really excited. A lot of it is stuff I've never. There's a few songs on there There's a few stories. Sorry, I'm just going to laugh. There's a few things on there that I've performed as part of something else, but they were kind of while I was working on it, and I was like, oh, I'd like to do that live. I'm just going to do that live. But there's some other stuff on there. I'm like, I can't wait to get. Like I actually get an opportunity to perform these. It's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, it's one of the things that's kept me going with like the last EP now is like I like whenever I played live for the solo stuff, it's always been just me acoustically. Like I've got like a pop punk band as well and we do stuff together, but like for those specific songs, for just the Matt piano songs, I've only ever done them acoustic. It's only this year where I've started putting together like musicians and stuff to actually do it as a full band, and it's sort of renewed a lot of the excitement that I used to have on those songs, because a lot of those older songs that like, I mean, I haven't been doing the solo stuff for that long. It's like I think I first put a song out in like 2021 or something, but I'm like, even those I'm like, don't really listen to that. Like there's one in particular that I don't really listen to at all anymore. But looking at them again or coming back to them in a full band setting and almost like reworking them a little bit, there's something really fun. I don't know how it is for band. Ooh, bloody hell, what happened? The previous download was interrupted when you lost Quit Logic Pro.
Oh no. Logic Pro just quit itself?
No idea what happened.